you guys, welcome back Lighthouse family. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Today we're talking about just another story, another testimony of mine, and today is part 2 of my first video of wilderness in my marriage. In today's conversation about it, I had to learn how to give my husband my body. And of course we're going to go to Bible. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 4. The wife gives authority over her body to her husband, and the husband gives authority over his body to his wife. So that is the verse God used to help me understand it. It's a couple more, but today I just want to talk about how God took me through the process and why I didn't give my body away the way I should. So if you didn't watch the first video, my very first video was about me selling my love to my husband. So now that I stop loving my husband pockets, now that I stop loving him for what he can buy me and give me, and love him by the love he has for me, now we go to the next part, the next season of our marriage wilderness, and it is now giving my body to my husband. So before I go a little deeper, I want to backtrack a little bit to give you guys a little background story. So before God started telling me about giving my body, it was times where me and my husband went to the Airbnb season. And in this season, me and my husband would be intimate sometimes. And you guys, I used to be so bad. I used to be fighting and screaming and yelling and cussing. Every time he wanted to be intimate with me, I would shut it down in a heartbeat. And every time he would show signs, I would fake like I'm asleep. I would fake like I'm sick or anything to get me out of having intimacy, not realizing that the intimacy is the very thing that I needed. I was very terrible at giving my husband my body. It was so terrible that he wouldn't even ask me at some point. He wouldn't even want to do it, but he had to keep trying because, you know, it was something we needed in our marriage, and I hated it. When I say I hated it, the big word hate just came. Every time he asked me a big, whatever, why do you always do? You just a horny dog, and all these terrible words would come out of my mouth that wasn't meant to come out of my mouth. But the hatred I had for intimacy, it was to the point where it would burn in my ears. I remember it was a point I was living in Airbnbs, and that night he was just talking about how more intimate we needed to be, how more loving we needed to be. And boy, I broke my glasses. It would get so bad that it was burning in my ear and I would come out with rage. And if you don't know my stories, I had demons living inside me that was pushing buttons, that was pushing emotional demonic buttons in me, and I would react out of them. So every time my husband went into intimacy, this large cringe and hatred will come over me. I will get upset, I will begin to get irritated, and it just caused our marriage to be very miserable and terrible because the intimacy that we were not having was just causing so much darkness in our life. I literally hated my husband because I had to give him my body. It'd be times where I would look at him with disgust because I knew that someday, somehow, he was gonna ask me to be intimate, and I was just like, you know, all these hatred words would come out of my mouth. Like the demons that was living inside me would manifest so bad. Like, I didn't know demons can manifest until I got married. So they was living inside me before I met my husband, but they really didn't manifest until I met my husband. Sounds crazy, right? But it's so true. They really didn't manifest strongly until I met my husband. I realized no intimacy in a marriage caused a lot of problems. And it's Bible to this. Let me read it for you. 1 Corinthians chapter 7 verse 5 says, do not deprive each other of sexual relations unless you both agree to refrain from sexual intimacy for a limited time so you can give yourself more completely to prayer. Afterward, you should come together again so that Satan won't be able to tempt you because of your lack of self-control. And multiple years ago, God gave me, I just seen 444 about making this video. If you're watching this video and you see 444, that just means God is with you through the fire. He's with you through the storm. Stick it out with him. I don't know why I had to say that. I just had to say it. God gave me a dream related to Corinthians 7:5. And it was a dream where he showed me that you could be the very one that's leading your husband into sexual sin. Because in the dream, I was going multiple days without being intimate with my husband, and in the dream he lost self-control. He began to cut his hair off. He ended up masturbating. He ended up sinning against God based on me not being intimate with him. And God was just showing me that the lack of intimacy will allow the enemy to come in, and you will have lack of self-control, especially the husband sometimes. And they will have a lack of self-control. And that is why you cannot be not intimate for a very long time. And me not understanding that, I was leading my husband into sexual sin because of the lack of intimacy that I wasn't having with him. And the enemy was getting a great foothold because of that. So now it's the part where God starts speaking. We move into this house God gave us for probably a good 2 months. And in this house, God wanted us to fast. To fast is something where you don't eat at all. And if you do eat, it's probably water or juice, something real small, into the next period of time. And we did this fast for a good 3 days. We did this fast, and listen, I was pregnant at this time with our 3rd child. God wasn't playing. He that baby will be okay. He'll survive in there. Fasted for 3 days in an Esther fast, and I was pregnant for 5 months. And in this fast, God was speaking to me. And in this fast, he was saying, it's now time to give your husband your body. Even when you don't want to, even when you don't feel like it, but give him your body. And I was like, God, no. In this season, I was rebellious. I'm going to admit that. My mindset wasn't as strong as it is now. In this season, I was rebellion. I'm like, God, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do that. Why do I have to do that? But in that moment, my flesh was speaking. And when you fast, what's happening when you fast is your flesh go down and your spirit go up. And in this fast, he was telling me to trust him. He was telling me he was giving me the understanding of why I should give my body away. And he's giving me the understanding that if you trust me, you will. I won't let him hurt you. And then the reason why I wasn't giving my body 100% away because of my past traumas, my past demons, the demons that was living inside me, my history of my past and what people done to me and what my predators done to me and things like that. And that trauma was holding me back from really truly being intimate in my marriage because of the hurt I was feeling in my past. And in that time, he was always reminding me, do you trust me? Every time I fall short from being intimate, I would fight with my husband. I will argue with him. I will argue with God. And he will always come back, do you trust me? But this Bible verse will always come to my head. The Holy Spirit will always lead this one. 1 Peter 3, 5-6, I believe, yeah. For this is the way the holy women of the past who put their hope in God used to adore themselves. They submitted themselves to their own husbands, like Sarah who obeyed Abraham and called him her Lord. You are daughters of who? You are daughters if you do what is right and do not give way to fear. So I gave fear an open door inside of my marriage in the intimate times. I was afraid. I was scared. I was like, what if he used me? What if he do this and do that? And my husband is a good husband, and he would show me that he still loves me. He showed me that he wouldn't use me, but the demons living inside me, inside of my emotions, inside of my thoughts, the trauma, the past, that was holding me back. I was still bound to those type of patterns and behaviors and traumas that was holding me back from the true intimacy that God wanted us to have in our marriage. So every time it got to a point, I would shield off. My husband wanted to be intimate. I would think about what that boy did to me. I would think about what my predator did to me. I would think about all the things, all the people that hurted me, especially men, boys, we can say back then. And I would be like, no, I don't want to do it. You're going to do what they did to me. I don't trust you and this and that. But God showed me that you can trust me. And what I mean by that, he showed me that you trust me by doing your part. God began to show me that he had my back as well. I always hear these women say that God only cares about the men, and that is not true. God cares about his daughters also as much as he cares about the man. In moments, God will show me that he will have my back. Like my husband can raise his voice at me too high or say a certain emotion or word to me that kind of hurted my feelings in that moment. God will check him for me. I don't need to do that because I trust that my Father will show up for me. And that was a process. That wasn't something that I got right away. That was a process of doing. And there be moments that God has showed me that I have your back. You do your part and I do my part. So I had to still obey even when I didn't want to. I had to still obey even when I didn't feel it. I had to still obey even when it was a midst of, I don't want this, but the obeying came with a sacrifice. I had to learn how to sacrifice in this season. I had to learn to understand that intimacy is important, but God started me off with sacrificing first before he actually truly delivered me. In this season, this was probably maybe 3 years ago when I went through this season, and God didn't deliver me until 2 years, maybe 3 years later. He was teaching me how to still be intimate even when I didn't want to. And he gave me a lot of grace and mercy in this season because he understood what was behind the effects of why I was doing what I was doing. And in that time, he was just planting seeds before he put up the weeds. You know, I'm gonna leave this Bible verse on here if you want to study the part of the Bible where God talks about the enemy comes at night and put down seeds and things like that. And that's what he did to me. And thank God that he had a lot of grace and mercy on me, because in these seasons I was very rebellious. I was very irritated, hateful, just bad because of my past traumas, the demons that was living inside of me. And yes, it was a working process. And yes, to this day, I might sometimes can get bitter with my husband, but I know to still submit and be sacrificial and loving to him, because I know if I do my part, God will do his part. I don't have to fear if I trust in God. So that's why I'm okay with being submissive. That's why I'm okay with being loving and gentle, because if anything happened to me, he's going to check him. He just needed me to do my part by giving my body to my husband the way he called it to be in a marriage. And I truly learned in this experience is that a marriage, intimacy, is still a working process. It's still something that is a flow that God has to keep revealing and keep working on. I didn't get delivered as soon as I came to God. It was a couple years down the line before God truly delivered me. So, and when I was a Christian, when I said yes to God, I still had demons living inside of me and I was still operating out of my flesh. But eventually God delivered me from those things. And he still is to this day. That it's a working process. So if you're going through something like this, maybe it's not intimacy, maybe it's something else in your life, understand that it's a working process God is doing, because that's what he was doing for me and that's what he can do for you as well.